Hi, I'm Addison Peacock. I am the voice of Faustina and the co-creator of KILLJAM XXX.
And hello, I'm Henry Galley. I'm the voice of about 40% of background characters in KILLJAM and the other co-creator of KILLJAM XXX.
Hello, I'm Meg Chutin, and I am the director, sound editor, the person what make the sounds and put the sound together and make them sound good of KILLJAM XXX. And I'm also pretty much all of the background voices that aren't Jamie Douglas or Henry Galley.
I am Zuwie LeFou. I am a writer, executive producer, and voice actor for the stupid idiot Bellamy Pink, and other random voices you may hear for KILLJAM XXX. I almost said Killjoy. XXX.
And this is the Q&A.
I am ready for the questions!
Okay, so first off, we have, what was y'all's favorite episodes to write?
I've written one episode for the show, and it was the Blue Blood Cafe, so that wins by default. All jokes aside, though, that is a very fun episode. When Henry came up with the idea, I was like, can you let me write that one? And I did. And I think I did a good job, because people still message me to this day being like, hey, Meg, what the fuck was that about? What was going on there? Why did you put that in the show?
This is extremely difficult to answer, but I will say that I think if I had to absolutely choose episode 11, Fairground Fight Night, working on that one was really rewarding. Henry and I both did a lot of work on developing Anna's character, and I also always love getting to write stuff with Lex and Faustina, and also Way of the Mall Ninja was another favorite. Love to write a weird teenage girl. And all the stuff with Master Dante was just so much fun.
I completely agree with Addison's answers there. Both of those are great episodes. I'm going to throw in the other half of the kind of introducing Anaconda duology, episode 10, Snakes and Corporate Ladders, both because I love that first meeting scene where Bellamy and Faustina, in a good-hearted way, flub the chance to pitch. I love the fairground sequence. That first half of the fight with Lex, I think me and Addison are both huge fans of the Lextina dynamic, and I think for me, episode 10 is the first episode where it's kind of, yes, this is Faustina and Bellamy, this is the duo, this is the dynamic. Alright, question 2. How much of KILLJAM XXX's story is fully written at the moment?
Okay, so in terms of larger plot stuff, I feel like we know the general shape of where everything is going, and all of the major characters' arcs are very, charted out. But at the same time, we don't have it super, super locked in such a way that it feels too prescriptive. We're still in a place where we want to let the characters and the themes drive the story more than feeling like we have to lock in the entire kind of bit by bit minutia of the story. We just know where everybody's going to end up. How we get there is subject to some change, I think.
Yeah, I'm completely agreed on that as well. I think you have so many good ideas while writing, and some of our favorite elements of the show have really only come to exist in the heat of scripts coming to exist. So I think sometimes when you over-plan beyond the season you're currently writing, you sometimes shut yourself off from really interesting possibilities. But I will say, with KILLJAM being such a kind of continuity-driven show, we really plan the episode-by-episode structures of the seasons, and for continuity, we have super rigorous edits once all the first drafts are done.
Absolutely. But you never want to, I think it's important to plan, but you also never want to How I Met Your Mother yourself, where you write yourself into a corner that you then write yourself out of, and then you go back to the corner at the end because you don't know how to leave the corner you started in.
Yeah, I think there is so many advantages to the fact that, me and Addison are, huge storytelling geeks, as is, Meg and Gus and Zuwie, and just everyone in the kind of Warner team that, are our, sounding boards and co-writers and producers on this show. And it gives us, collectively a real pool of kind of what not to do examples that will hopefully keep KILLJAM's wider arc and all of its characters on the right track.
I like this one.
If you could get John Cena on the show, what kind of role would you cast him in?
We haven't gone in depth into this a lot on KILLJAM yet because it's, a very female-centric show. So we focus on the sport of KILLJAM, which is the all-female killing game. But there are, co-ed and male-driven death games in the world of KILLJAM, and I think if we could get someone like John Cena on the show, I would want to see him. I would want to see him fighting. I'd want to see him as one of these like pit fighter dudes. I think that or something completely different, like just like I think somebody's manager, just a completely combat-free role. I think either we lean all the way in or we completely go against type. But I think he'd nail anything because he's a really great performer. I really like John Cena.
No, I would love it if John Cena was playing like the in-universe celebrity who's like the star of some terrible action movie franchise. Like, put him in Lethal Killing 14 and have Bellamy and Faustina be watching that in the movie theater.
I also think it would be really funny if we had him in like a small role as like a gigolo, like Sadie Kane. I think he'd somehow nail that in a very sort of like Magic Mike-esque fashion. It would be really funny to have like a scene where they're there and it being like Bellamy, like, oh hey Vic, hey John Cena, hey Bellamy, like.
That's perfect. I think he'd nail it.
Okay, next question is, with this series being heavily inspired by video games, what video game characters do you think could stand a chance in San Malvado?
I think Party Phil from Wii Party. I would like to see Party Phil go up against Roger. Because Party Phil, he's got that beautiful flair. He's got that pink sparkly jacket. And also, nothing he says matters to anyone, just like what Roger says, because Party Phil goes and nothing he says has any relevance, just like Roger. Sorry, Josh. I love you, Josh. I'm sorry to hate on your character, Josh.
I mean, Samus is pretty much already a robo-style jammer, just like by default. So I think she'd be fine. Or at least she'd do
You're so
pretty
right.
well. Yeah, I feel like she'd do pretty well.
I think Veronica from Fallout New Vegas would be a really good jammer.
I don't know that he would do well per se, but I'd like to put Leon Kennedy into KILLJAM. Just put him in there.
I think he's survived worse things than just, a really he's if he can survive cities full of like zombies and mutants and giants and tyrants, he can definitely hold his own in the KILLJAM world.
I think you're right. Those are my two.
Also, I think I love the Little Nightmares games, and I will talk about Little Nightmares until I go blue in the face. I love Little Nightmares. I really genuinely think all the pro tags from Little Nightmares could stand a chance in Malvo. If they can go against the teacher with the bendy neck in the second game, I think they could, and they're tiny too. I think they could withstand anything Malvo throws up against them. I think the world of Little Nightmares is probably on par with how terrible living in Malvo is. It's a big nightmare. It's a big city. It's a big nightmare.
I think Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil Village would be a good jammer.
I've always joked that because it is one of my greatest vices, it's up there with my crippling heroin addiction.
Henry.
That I have always thought someday, this is like the complete opposite side of the question, it would be so funny to put Faustina Fettermine in Fortnite, because you could have her dance with Chaperone, who is also in Fortnite, which doesn't really engage with the question. And Sabrina Carpenter and Miku. And I think that would be so fun that I hope that you'll forgive me for simply co-signing Addison's proper answers to this question.
I also have another one that I just thought of because I don't even know. I think she would do well, but I also just think Faustina deserves to meet her, and that's Bayonetta. Anyway.
I think the Duke, also from Resident Evil Village, should be there, not for any special reason. I just like him. And I think he'd vibe with the kind of no-rules libertarian hellscape.
And also James Sunderland, so Faustina could spin kick him.
So she could just sort of punch his head off of his body anyway.
Break her no-sibs rule for that.
Just for him. If any of you had to spend a weekend on a deserted island with one of the characters from the series, who would it be? If I'm thinking practically, then I think that Mara would be one of the best people to be there with. She has an she's extremely practical, extremely fucking smart, and I think has a great knowledge of, like, first aid, all that good stuff. I also think Dr. Yuzna would be good to be trapped in that situation with. He's been in combat situations. He was a combat medic. He's, a doctor, obviously, so he would know how to keep us healthy and safe. Those are my practical answers, and then, on a, like, more like lighthearted one, Master Dante, because I could drown him and then have him for food.
I thought you were going to say drown him and then use his body as like the Black Freighter from Watchmen style raft to paddle away from the island.
No, you actually shouldn't do that. Not to turn this into like survival advice, but no, I'm not kidding. This is not about that. This is about the raft thing. If you're ever trapped on an island, your odds of surviving in open ocean on a raft that you rigged up are so much worse than the odds of someone finding you if you just stay put.
And that's a valuable piece of knowledge that we bet you didn't think you'd get in the KILLJAM Q&A.
I think Bellamy has a lot of valuable survival skills. I think he would be able to find water, build shelter, things of this nature. Or the drawback would be that he would absolutely not hesitate to kill and cannibalize me if it came down to it.
It would be Roger, because I would have no remorse about cannibalizing and eating his body to sustain me to stay alive. He would probably taste like shit, because he's full of shit. That's it.
I think Mara and Dr. Yuzna are objectively the correct answers, just in terms of them having such, like, valuable skills. But I do think it would also potentially be valuable to be on an island with Mr. Dirge, because he could physically just throw you like a lawn dart back to the mainland if he got annoyed with you. And all you'd have to worry about is figuring out how to survive the descent.
I was gonna say you're safe, but all your bones are broken.
Adapt, improvise, overcome.
Do you have any advice regarding sound editing? My advice is watch a lot of movies and pay attention to the sounds. Walk around outside and pay attention to the sounds. I know that's like corny advice, but that genuinely is what helps, because I think I'm like loosely quoting from Tin Can Audio, Amber DeVroe. She at some point made some post about like audio editing advice, and I did really, it was really useful to me. It was like, don't think of it as like one after the other, like this sound happens, then this sound happens. Think of it in terms of layers, and that's really gonna help it sound realistic, because it's not like one sound finishes and then the next sound and then the next sound. It's a lot of sounds are happening together in the world. And so just like pay attention to the world around you, pay attention to how things are done in like movies and cartoons that you like, because, you know, sound design is there, but it's when it's done correctly, you don't notice it unless you're actually looking for it. So you've got to like tune your brain to actually think in terms of sound design.
How do you start building a network of voice actors at the beginning of a project when you aren't off the ground yet?
Okay, so as a voice actor and someone who's been in this space for a really long time, honestly, the way you build a network of voice actors is to be friends with other people who like voice acting. Like, I think a lot of people conceive of networking as being a thing where you should sort of like cynically like try to recruit people and like be businessing and like Bellamy style business maxing all the time. But your network is actually it's your friends, it's your genuine connections. So being in spaces where there are other voice actors trying to make stuff and like who are interested in indie projects and things like that is the way you start building that network. Whether that's if you're in a place where there are classes you can go to in person, taking classes, if there's like a Discord server, or if there's like online workshops, or just any sort of community space where you can like connect with other people who just are excited about the art of voice acting and making things. That's the way you build that network. Because at least in my experience, you know, people can smell it on you when you're being insincere, but if you're actually just trying to connect with people who also do a thing you love and want to make cool stuff, then you will find that kind of organically coming together.
I think Addison is completely right there, and I think the kind of addendum I'd add as someone who isn't a voice actor beyond being a voice actor of convenience, but is lucky to know so many wonderful voice actors, the advice I would give is do favors for people. Work and help other people's shows. And do it, like Addison said, uncynically. Do your best, be kind, be open, because honestly, while in an ideal world, we would all have so much cash to, like, throw around that we could just be, like, balling, making it rain on everyone, the creative industry, and especially the creative industry online, is a world of IOU1s. And the more people that you can help out in any way that you can, whether it's, like, writing, production, or if you like have a mic doing kind of additional and background voices on other people's shows, it will hugely increase that. I mean, me and Addison met through us both being involved in the No Sleep podcast, and that was not a show that was either of, like, our shows. It was just another show that we were contributing to.
What were your favorite lines to record, and what were the hardest? So I realize this one's probably mostly for me, but you're going to answer it too, Henry. My favorite lines to record, I've said this before off mic, I love any time during a combat situation Faustina gets to deliver kind of a triumphant sort of, like, victory line. I love it in the fight with sort of the Mother Hysteria fights. I love all those haunts in that one. I love her sort of finishing lines for the Lottie Lancer fight, and I'm especially fond of her kind of badass moments in the fight against Electo, particularly the, like, I know if someone, fucks with someone you care about, you gotta fuck them up back. I love there's just something so, like, viscerally satisfying about getting to embody those moments, and I love just recording her fight scenes are always really... it feels good. It's a cathartic release to do. The hardest lines, on a completely practical level, there are some especially early Faustina lines where she's, like, naming a lot of like corporate kind of jargon stuff, or doing like product placement type stuff, and that was just hard because it was a lot of, like, really specific kind of unnatural language, because it's corporate, like, lines she's had written for her. It's just really hard to rattle that off and not mess it up. And on an actual acting level, because Faustina is such a high energy character, and she's so, like, in her body, and she's so boisterous and buoyant, and, like, the voice lives in this very high energy place for me delivery wise, any moment where she's really been knocked down and is feeling very deflated and lost and kind of broken down is really difficult to kind of get into that space while maintaining her voice and her characterization, because it's just so antithetical to the way she would carry herself if given the choice. So it just involves a lot more work than playing her when she's kind of in her natural habitat.
There's a lot of favorite Bellamy lines that I have. Again, I love to improv as him. So, like, a lot of... I think the scene with Bellamy and Faustina, again, in episode 5, fucking around, looking through clothing for her was really fun in Gomez Square. I mean, he's just really fun to record. I just really enjoy him being an asshole to people, too. I just love him swearing at people, and I just love getting to yell. Because in what other profession can you yell really loud and not get in trouble for it? The hardest was, so I was recording the line. What was the line before that? It was Faustina when Bellamy places the bet in episode 5. And take a shot every time I say episode 5. I've mentioned that episode how many times? But I love it. It's so fun. It's the line where Faustina asks, "Why didn't you just place the bet yourself?" And Bellamy goes, "Well, if I did, every bookie in Malvo would want to turn me into fertilizer." And I keep saying, every bucko in Malvo would want to turn me into fertilizer. So there's, like, in my bloopers, I think I say bucko in Malvo, I don't know how many times on accident. I don't know why. And then I keep laughing at the line, so I can't even get through the line because I keep saying every bucko in Malvo. So now, you know what I think? I think we are so far into the future, And we all know language changes throughout the years. Bookies are referred to as bookos in Malvo, and that's canon now, and you can't change that, and I'm God. I'm the word of God, so that's what it is.
Drill Bitch McQueen. I think the funniest Drill Bitch line is the one where she's like, "That's so sad, I would kill myself if I were you." Because she's so mean. It's so funny. I love the kind of, like, school bully tier insults that she whips out. They're all hilarious, and just Drill Bitch was such a fun voice to do.
And for me, again, many additional voices. I think my favorite thing I've ever had to record for the show is in episode 4. One of my favorite sequences, I'm sure I'll talk about it again for one of the later questions, is Faustina fighting the hyenas with Mara in her mind. And I play the hyena that Faustina hits with a cattle prod, and it was so fun to do the, like, getting electrocuted noise, and I'm so happy with, like, how that came out. I went, like, real hard on that. I'm not going to imitate it here and, like, completely peak the mic, but no, that was a really fun one, and I honestly do not think I've really delivered anything substantial enough in the show. Maybe the hardest one was I think I played the scientist in the Lucifuga episode 14.
Oh yeah, your little Resident Evil moment.
Yeah, exactly. Me and the audio log. I think that was the one that maybe required the most, like, acting from me. Either that or the sheer intimidation of being Dr. Cage in the episode before that, episode 13, where I knew it was just going to be me and Johnny Sims as Dr. Usner, and there's a lot of pressure in that.
Yeah.
What inspirations went into Bellamy's character and the way his transness is depicted?
I love plagiarism, and I'm going to directly plagiarize what Henry just said to me while recording this. With Bellamy, and why I love him very dearly, is because everyone involved in writing this project made sure that he was not, again, I love plagiarizing, made sure he was not the uwu typical transmask representation that is like the infantilization of, I don't know how to describe it, like Peter Panning trans characters, I think, of just making them like perpetually kind of seen as like children, or transmask characters, I mean, in this particular instance, but like seen as children, or seen as if they can like not do anything wrong, which, you know, I think is great to have like a lot of trans characters in media, especially now in the landscape, at least where I live, with the way that trans people are being treated, to have like good positive representation of trans characters, especially in media for younger people. I think it's really good to see positive, nice trans people, to show them that they are just human and they can be kind and nice just like you. But KILLJAM is not a show for children. So I mean, it is great to have a trans character that is actually messy and can be a dick. And you know, you see him get frustrated that people treat him, you know, in the one scene with 8-Ball at the bar, like thinking he's like a kid, like 14, and Bellamy's like, I'm 25, or he's allowed to have sex. You know, I'm not 14, I'm 24. Me, Zuwie, me. And yeah, I mean, it is frustrating when people hear you and automatically assume that because you sound like you're a 13-year-old boy that's the mental that's what you are. And I'm not. Obviously, I have no issue with like soft boy type characters. I think they're great. I think they're sweet. If you want to put a flower crown on Bellamy, it's fine. He'll probably beat you to death. But I think the thing is, at the end of the day, and obviously this is a much bigger conversation that I cannot condense into this single Q&A, because again, trans people are not a monolith, nor is anybody from any marginalized group, and I only have the experience of living as a, you know, trans mask who dresses like a clown. I don't have the walk of life as a trans woman, or you know, a non-white trans person, but I think, at least for me and my personal you know, opinion on this, I think that if you are a cis person and you want to write a trans character, but you are terrified of giving bad representation or accidentally making a stereotype. Number one, don't let that fear scare you into not making a trans character, because at the end of the day, representation is so important. Number two, consult people. Don't just do research, consult people. There are so many sensitivity readers and diversity consultants that you can reach out to and pay them for their time and reach out to multiple people. Because again, not every experience is going to be the same for every single person in that same community. And I think number three, and for the trans thing, but for the, for being being a trans person, I think that if you only write if you're so afraid to make your trans character an asshole, if you only want to write them to be this nice, kind, do no wrong kind of Mary Sue character, you are severely missing out and mob style hitting yourself in the kneecaps. And missing out on an opportunity to make a trans character who is also allowed to get mad about things, who is also allowed to get pissed off at people and be frustrated by stuff. Because as a human being, those are the emotions we experience. And you are able to have people relate to your character in that way and see them as a person instead of this perfect that no one will be able to relate to, and therefore the trans representation character that's like this will probably fall flat because no one will be able to relate to a perfect character, because no human is perfect. And if you want somebody to relate to your character and have them be human, they need to have flaws. And also, characters should just have flaws. That's what makes them interesting. And also, have multiple trans characters. Have multiple characters of that same marginalized background, because again, you don't want to tokenize, and again, to have multiple characters of that background, you can have one who's a dick, and then you can have one who's super nice. That's just how life is. People are different. Okay, I am gonna be a hypocrite for a second though. I love the original Pinocchio books. Fuck the Disney movie, it's stupid and I hate it. The original Pinocchio books are superior because there's a snake who laughs at Pinocchio so hard that within a single paragraph he bursts an artery and dies. But Pinocchio to me is amazing trans representation. I'm sorry. Sorry, I was just trans people, we should not say trans mass people are like little boys. And I'm like, well, I do love Pinocchio. What applies to him that applies for me, and something that I really hope to get one day, but have not been able to afford it, is top surgery. So to make Bellamy pre-op, top surgery-wise, although I don't bind with duct tape like he does, do not do that. But I think it's also nice to have trans characters who are not at the end of their journey, but also at the beginning of their journey. And again, being trans is different for many people. Some people will get top surgery, some people will not get top surgery. It all depends on how you feel and what makes you the most comfortable in your own body. But for me, at least, with Bellamy being pre-op, it's nice to have a character and representation for that of people who do not maybe have access to be able to get that care. Because regardless of where you are in your journey, if you are out socially, if you have fully transitioned, again, depending on what fully transitioned means to you, that's amazing. But it doesn't make you any less trans if you have yet to come out to anyone. If you yourself know that you are trans in your heart, then you're trans. And nobody should invalidate your pronouns or your experience for that. So I like that fact about him. It makes me it might sound weird, but it does actually make me feel a little less dysphoric.
This is a multi-part question. I think what we'll do here is take it item by item rather than me reading out the whole thing and us all having to remember it. So, item 1. Did you ever have any alternative genre ideas for KILLJAM XXX before settling on where it is now? I mean, darker, lighter, or has it been a pretty solid and straightforward idea since the get-go?
Okay, I feel funny taking this first, but I'm going to. But when you first brought KILLJAM to me, when it was in early development stages, it was way more inspired by Grindhouse and like 70s exploitation cinema. And it had a much grittier, kind of grimmer tone. And it still was darkly comedic, obviously. Like, the dark comedy and the social satire have been parts of the DNA from the beginning. But it wasn't until we started realizing that the place, like the elements that made more sense as genre references, the things that really made it sing were like video games and anime, that it started to really become the show it is now.
Yeah, that's completely true, and I think it is a case of you may be thinking, oh, geez, KILLJAM is like pretty violent and bleak. What do you mean by grimmer? I think to sort of clarify on that, the characters were honestly a lot less likable. It just had more of a kind of like mean, unpleasant tone to it that, like, looking back is something that I think, to be honest, because this was sort of like directly post the first couple of years of COVID, and we were all just very, I think, understandably angry at the way stuff was going on, and there was a lot of that anger there, but I think it's a matter of we figured out through drafts of the show how to more healthily direct that anger and have that be in the kind of like viciousness of the kind of rebellious themes, while having a heart for the characters.
Well, I think you and I have both talked about this, I think both on and off mic, that KILLJAM grew, I think, from a show that is just sort of ambiently angry about the systems that we're forced to live in, and turned way more into a show about the ways in which we find joy and community and chances to rebel and build our own things in those systems.
Yeah, I completely agree. And while it might, you know, from an outside perspective, see like a semantic difference, that difference in focus from like the positive like connections between these characters, which is, by the way, pure anime in the style of best anime. Laugh all you like, KILLJAM ultimately is very much a show about the power of friendship. That I think got everything where it needed to be. And the second question is, how long did it take pre-first episode release to get everything written, organized, and voiced out? Did it come out pretty I know. Did it come out pretty naturally, or did you encounter any unexpected road bumps along the way?
Okay, so
I think it was 3 years?
I think it took like 3 years. And part of that, to be fair, Henry, is because at one point when we realized the anime thing and the sort of change in approach to the themes, the show got a complete top to bottom rewrite.
It did, and I do not regret it for a second.
Me neither.
The thing is, KILLJAM Season 2 is coming along like swimmingly at the moment, and it comes from the fact that we just spent so long doing, essentially, like, would you say it's fair to say, Addison, just like months and months, maybe even a solid year, basically just doing character work to really get them.
The development process, I think that's the thing, is the writing and voicing and like production was a way shorter timeline than the actual development process. Like the character work and the scrapping of old storylines that didn't work, and the sort of, and the revamping of the tone and the structure, and a year of character development, and then about maybe a year after that of story development and writing, and then the production was probably the part that took the least time.
It's true, but the beauty is, it's not a case of like, oh, well, okay, every season takes 3 years. No, because the stuff that we spent all that extra time on is the stuff you only need to do once. And if anything,
because that was the foundational stuff,
exactly. And if anything, it's allowed what's come after to go even faster, because at the risk of sounding like a super like corny writer type, Faustina and Bellamy and all these other characters, when you have the right situation to like put them down in, they just go. They write themselves. We're just here to press the keyboards for them because they're intangible.
That's true. This next question is, I'm not sure there's a formal name for the genre that KILLJAM XXX fits into. That is to say, that kind of transgressive, edgy exploitation trash media that is also a combinating of modern political sensibilities. What term/subgenre do you use to describe the show? And when I pitch people on the show, I definitely say, like, queer cyberpunk dark satire, which is a lot of words, but a word that you've thrown around, Henry, before, and you'll remind me when you go where the origin of this one was woke exploitation, which is like a thing that essentially uses the hallmarks of exploitation media and like is really kind of balls to the wall nuts, but also is not trying to cater to people that are like doing the you just can't joke about anything anymore thing. Like we're trying to make actual like art that is engaging with actual like revolutionary politics and like beliefs, and like actually, because we are all on the team from like marginalized communities, like actually is a place for those communities and not just like trying to just shock for no reason.
Yes, and to expand on the origin of that, I can't actually take credit. It is, you're probably listening to this right now and feeling incredibly freaked out, whoever you are, but it was a user on Reddit who has written some really thoughtful things on the r/audio drama subreddit, feel free to sound off, about the show, and has alternatingly used the phrase wokesploitation and affectionately woke trash as this idea. And the thing is, I really like that as a term, because I think particularly this idea of like trash or filth is very evocative of like John Waters, who is a huge philosophical inspiration for, I think, both of us and for like KILLJAM in particular. But I think it's something that me and Addison have discussed so much in our kind of like conception of the show and throughout writing, and especially when writing some of the more like bizarre and out there scenes. We are kind of trying to like take edge back from the right wing and give it to us like queer weirdos that those same right wing guys who think they're edgy are super afraid of, because I think we're here to prove that edge and excess and transgression can be completely mutually exclusive from hate, you know?
In fact, I'm like, it's always been wild to me that like conservatism tries to own like the sort of transgression and edginess and like counterculture, when I'm like, oh yeah, you're so edgy that you're fucking quaking in your boots about like kink and sexuality and queer people and fat people and trans folks. Like, okay, you're so edgy, you're so unafraid of stuff that's different from you. Okay, like, you're not edgy, you're the fucking status quo. That's loser shit.
Being right wing is the new punk. Also, I think there should be a cop on every street corner just to keep an eye on all of us, you know?
I'm so punk. Also, when I see booba, I get very afraid, and when two boys kiss, I poop my little pants.
Yeah, no, exactly. Miss us with that shit. And honestly, we encourage, if you're listening to this and you're a creator of queer art yourself who admires what we do, consider this your license from Henry and Addison to, in whatever you're working on, take it a little further, go a little crazier, because the stuff that you are most worried about might end up being the thing that the audience loves the most.
Everybody get weirder right now.
This is an order. What was the process like for writing the core of the show? Did it spring from the mind fully formed, or did it get refined over time?
Okay, so I feel like we got to touch on this a little bit already, talking about the sort of transformation of style as the show was developed. But to sort of give it a basic overview before I throw it off to Henry, KILLJAM came from Henry's brain first and foremost as an idea, and then it got heavily refined and developed over time, both on Henry's end, just sort of like noodling on the idea and occasionally asking me questions and then disappearing for like a few months and then coming back to me with stuff that he had changed or added before we got into writing it in earnest. But there were parts that it always was going to be, like the death game aspects of the show, like the sort of larger themes of the show were present from day one.
Yeah, I'm also going to drop an insane piece of lore every time I've shared this. It has blown people's... You know what I'm about to say. I could not say anything that will interest and drive you all crazier than this, that in her earliest earliest prenatal pre-camembert expression, Faustina was actually gonna be the main villain of the show, and our original conception was kind of because Faustina, she's this tragic creation of the system, forced to kill, and all this other stuff, and we just need to think of a more kind of boring everyman main character to go up against that. And the more we kind of contemplated on that idea, we were like, Faustina actually seems more interesting in concept. Maybe we should explore this a little bit more. And
what if she was the main character?
And holy fuck, I'm glad we did.
Me too. All three Wanna shows, Less is More, The Kingmaker Histories, now this show all have episodes that have the main characters tripping balls. Are psychedelics something that you all resonate with or are fascinated by?
I would say that I'm a normal amount of interested in psychedelics. I've never taken psychedelics at this point in my life. I'd probably like to try it, but I'm not a psychonaut. I'm not a hardcore psychonaut. The Kingmaker Histories episode, I can say that is very specifically that shit happened to Charlie at Carnival when they were in Berlin, and they wrote it into the show, and we just kind of rolled with it. And I will have to let Henry and Addison elucidate sort of what are the reasons behind including it in KILLJAM.
I can say for the most part, it's not something I specifically am that interested in. I mean, in kind of a cursory way. I know folks who've gotten a lot out of them. It's not something I've dabbled in myself. But I do think that, and this is something Henry has talked about a lot, it is a really good, putting a character on a mind-altering substance is a really good chance to get into their subconscious and get into their sort of the depths of their brains and get some of the stuff that they would never say in a lucid state out in the open.
Yeah, Addison is completely correct on that. I couldn't agree more. And I would add to that, in addition to the interesting character possibilities, in a show like KILLJAM that has some really kind of wacky experimental elements, but is still ultimately a show that all of our weirdness and excesses do have to exist within the confines of, could we justify this in a sci-fi way? I do appreciate that through the use of things like drug trips, hallucinations, and dream sequences, we can get properly strange with it, and that I find to be a really interesting writing challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite moments in KILLJAM?
There's so many to pick from.
The mother hysteria fight is genuinely one of my favorites in the whole show. I love the Mara, Nomi, and Dr. Yuzna episodes. They're full of so much intrigue, and I do love my intrigue, and I I love listening to them. I also love when Faustina stabs Lucifuga to death and just yells, "Die, die, 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 die!" Again, so many things in this question and answer could indict me in court. Oh, and I also love in Dinner and a Shit Show where Faustina kills Lottie Lancer with the motorcycle wheel.
One of my favorite moments in the show is taking us back to the Anna arc of the season, which is Faustina and Anna sort of having this generation crossing bonding moment about the trauma that they have been left with in the ways that they were done wrong by this very specific shitty system and this even more specific shitty man. And I also I love all of the sort of early milestone moments between Faustina and Bellamy. The first time she agrees to work with him, the first time they open up to each other about real things, all these little steps, all these little bricks in the foundation of their relationship are favorite moments of mine. And I also just I love one of my favorite things about the show is just how weird and horny we get in the show, and how much how many different kind of shades and aspects of human sexuality there are in the show. And so I really love all of the different kind of colors of that we get throughout the season, some of which involve Faustina and some of which I don't have any part in. Like, I love, as sad as it is in terms of what the characters are going through, I love the moments of intimacy we see in the flashback with Vic and Bellamy when they were together. I love the stuff with Jack and Leon on the boat. I love, like, I just think it's so fun, and I think it's something that I think is one of the things that we early on were so excited about, the ways that you can play with both sex and violence in audio, because you don't have to worry about pulling it off on screen.
Yeah, I love every single one of those moments. I would add to that with, I love the, I mentioned it earlier, the hyena fight. I think all of the performances from you, Addison, from Tiana, from Jack Hawkins, who played Head Hyena, Jamie Douglas, who was Hyena Jerry, and I think Meg's production on that makes it one of my favorite kind of fights. I love the dream sequence at the start of Crazy Kate's, where Faustina is waking up and all the different characters are coming in, just because I think Roger jumping out of the window and Joe Dirge doing the, like, it's so beautiful, I think I'm going to cry, is so obscenely funny to me. I think everything that happens at the fairground, I love. That incredible montage that Meg put together of Faustina enjoying herself and Bellamy just completely refusing to enjoy himself.
Anytime I get to do a montage, I love the Gomez Square, like Faustina disorientedly like walking through Gomez Square with all the vendors hawking and like the street preacher and all the different languages and the transaction beeps. That was very fun for me. I loved doing that. I love the final scene of episode 16 where Bellamy talks to Axel and then gets in the car and drives off, and the other Lisa scene in that, Lisa and Bellamy like doing fireworks in the front yard.
And I think if I had to pick a scene in terms of like more serious dramatic stuff, I really love that scene that Zuwie actually wrote at the start of the season finale of season 1, with Bellamy and Lisa together in the flashback. I think it's so heartbreaking in just seeing a kind of like before the world broke him Bellamy. And I will say, I think Meg might also echo these in their answer to the favorite moments question, so I'm not going to dwell on them. But I still think the wet hand gang fight sequence and slow-mo ending is one of the funniest parts in the entire show. And the again, I won't go into detail because this is one of Meg's absolute babies, but the keep this feeling Bellamy. Oh, you don't say that one? Okay, Meg's in the background. What I know is actually also one of Meg's favorite scenes, the flashback while Rig is cutting off Bellamy's arm and puts on this kind of like cheesy Europop song called Keep This Feeling, and like turns it up to drown out the sound of the like bone saw cutting in and Bellamy like screaming over the like thing he's biting on. What a fun show we make.
To Bellamy's voice actor, was it easy to find a voice for him, or did the way you read his lines change over time?
How far back are we going for this? Because Bellamy used to be a very different character. He used to be a little wet blanket. Bellamy, at the start, the show was very, very different. And without, obviously, that's just how things go with like projects changing and morphing over time. But he used to be a super wet blanket, where I remember there was a scene where he was in a hot car. He got locked in a hot car. And he was like, I can't, I'm Morty from Rick and Morty. I can't get out of this hot car. That's the anti-Bellamy. That's the anti-Bellamy. And the anti-Faustina is Rick. I love voicing assholes. So I am very happy that he is a poop head. Now, I think the voice for him is literally just, like, me, but taking on, like, getting possessed by him. Does that make sense? I'm getting possessed by him. He enters my mind, Bill Cipher style, and then controls me like a puppet every time I voice him. And Ghost Me is standing to the side being like, yeah, Bellamy, you go. You go. But yeah, he did actually start out a little bit differently when I first recorded for him, and we had went back and actually re-recorded episode 5 after recording a bunch of other episodes, because at that point, at least for me too, I was more comfortable with Bellamy. I felt like I finally found his, like, him, you know, as a character. And that comes with just doing things over and over again, I feel like. With anything, the more you do something over and over again, the more comfortable you become. And that's why I am a serial killer. First episode that was ever produced was Way of the Mall Ninja. So that's like one of the first ones I ever recorded for, formally. Maybe it's the dysphoria in me. I feel like I talked a little bit higher when I started recording for him. So sometimes the earlier recordings I'll listen back to and go, it sounds a little bit higher. Maybe you just sucked like 1 ounce of helium and he sounds a little bit higher. But yeah, that's it. He's evolved over time. I've definitely gotten more comfortable voicing him, and I love ad-libbing for him. Oh, I love ad-libbing for him.
What scene or scenes were each of you most excited to record, least excited, or alternatively most anxious? So I have always wanted to, and never gotten a chance before KILLJAM, to do a ton of like video game style, anime style like efforts and combat sounds. So doing all of the Faustina fights was something I was the most excited about when we started writing them. I was also really nervous about it, but I was really excited to do them. And then in terms of what I was most anxious to do, honestly, a lot of just carrying the pressure of carrying the show, like, or not that you know what I mean, but the pressure of playing a lead character in a show like this. I've played major characters in shows. I've never played like the main character in a show like this.
I think the only exception is the subjective truth from our good friend Jeremy Ellett.
Even then, that was, I think, felt different because I was the narrator.
Oh, right, yes.
Narrator gave me a bit of a chance to sort of like, even though I was the frame device that the show was happening around, I didn't feel like I was like necessarily the focal point of the show, if that makes sense. I love the subjective truth and I'm very proud of it and everyone should listen to it. Playing Graham was an extreme pleasure, but didn't scare me nearly as much as playing Faustina. I think because Graham, because she was also the narrator, was close enough to some of the other stuff I'd done on No Sleep. Whereas Faustina is the first time I've played a main character where there's like, there was nothing like familiar about her except for the fact that I helped create her, but there's nothing familiar about her in terms of characters I've played in the past.
I'm going to tell you what scenes I was most excited to audio design. I really loved the start of episode 12 where Bellamy's getting his arm chopped off while like the very like toy box Planet of the Bass type music is playing in the background, and I love all of the dream sequences from episode 15. And I'm sure you're noticing a pattern here. I think my favorite dream sequence from episode 15 was the Mara fight. I also really liked the one where it was like Bellamy and Faustina and Dirge and Lisa's voice like all overlapping. You can see a theme here. I love to sound design scenes that are gonna hurt people because I'm a terrorist. I like doing crimes. I like creating sounds that hurt you in your ears. I love to sow chaos and discord, and I love to use my powers of sound design for evil. Least excited, most anxious. I think the most challenging scenes in KILLJAM XXX are the ones where it's like, we're in a house, we're in an office, and I have to figure out how to make that interesting, how to make it sound like KILLJAM. Like when there's two characters talking to each other. How do I keep the audience from forgetting where we are? Because I think there's a temptation, and I definitely did this in the earlier episodes of Kingmaker, where if we're in like a normal, regular room and the characters are talking to each other, I'm just slap some kind of generic room tone on it and call it a day. I'm better than that now, I hope. And I always try to have stuff going on in the background, like, kind of like cars going by, music playing from, like, the other side of the wall, the sounds of, like, the air conditioning system, the sort of, like, sci-fi beeps and boops. I always try to make every location sound interesting. I never want it to sound like the characters are talking to each other in a void. And that can be really challenging to come up with fun, new ways to do that.
I love episode 9. I love Dinner and a Shit Show. I love Dinner and a Poop Show. It's my favorite episode. It's so silly. That one that was one of the ones I was most excited to record, because I also was excited to record the line, "I am the god of hellfire," which I was extremely. Oh, and also the car chase scene from episode 5, I was really looking forward to record. And honestly, a little behind the scenes thing, a lot of the Bellamy and Faustina scenes are recorded together. So me and Addison get to record those together. And I constantly look forward to recording with Addison, because not only is she sweet and incredible and an amazing actor, but also to be able to bounce off of Addison is just incredible. I love bouncing off of people. I love getting to act with other people. It is incredibly fun. So I would say, yeah, there's obviously probably more things that that I'm not thinking of at the moment. I also really like, Snakes and Corporate Ladders was another one that I was looking forward to because it was so silly. And I do love a fair. Ugh, guys, I'm so simple. Oh, who would have guessed the person who likes clowns likes fairs? Shut up! Least excited. Okay, I'm excited for anything. However, I was so not stoked because I knew it was gonna be emotionally but that's not a fucking word. Well, yes it is, but not in that context. I was gonna be sad to record the scene. Why am I blinking? My mind blocked out the name of the episode because it's so sad. I just didn't want to say it. My mind was like, no, you're not allowed. Anyway, Faustina and Bellamy's really bad trip was was tough to record because it's emotional, especially for Bellamy with the scene with his dad. That was rough. However, if I can add some goofiness to the situation, when I was sent that scene in the writing phase when I was sent that scene for the first time, I had just went to the beautiful, lovely Duck Donuts, not sponsored, to get myself a wonderful maple bacon donut. And then right as I was about to eat my beautiful maple bacon donut, Henry sends me this god-awful scene of Bellamy confronting his dead father, and it ruined my maple bacon donut experience. I could not eat that maple bacon donut without thinking about his stupid, shitty dad, Simon. So thank you, Henry, for ruining my maple bacon donut experience, which, I think I'm going to treat myself to a maple bacon donut tomorrow. And now we lovingly, well, at least I do, refer to that scene behind the scenes as an inside joke as the maple bacon donut scene.
I was also very nervous, genuinely, just because I was thinking about how many people were going to hear it and stuff. I was really nervous about recording the Faustina sex tape stuff.
Yeah, that was I think I'll expand a little bit on that just because ultimately I do not have any scenes that are substantial enough to give a good answer to that question. But that was one that we had to be really delicate with, both in the portrayal and the writing. Nicole and Vel were both excellent in that.
Oh, they're great.
And managed to sell both those scenes and their later reveal as the Honeypot Killers, who are going to have such fun stuff to do in season 2. But
they're such icons.
But they're so good. But yeah, that was a scene that we kind of, out of the kind of respect for the vulnerability of it, in terms of recording, everyone, kind of recorded that privately. You might have directed Vel, did you?
I live directed Vel, but...
But Vel also has a bit more of a background in kind of intimate material,
yeah, that's
that. So
that's kind of his bread and butter. So
his wheelhouse. But I think in the writing of that scene went through a number of drafts because it's something that we knew we wanted to be like a kind of character moment, which is why we had the kind of Faustina breaking down and crying to make it like extra sort of like humiliating and vulnerable for her. But it was something that, given that, you know, not to get too dark here, is literally a sex crime committed against Faustina, the like leaking of that tape. It's something that we knew, even though the kind of sex in this show can get a little bit heightened and absurd at times, we didn't want to make a joke of the kind of profound act of like violation that was being done to Faustina with this being released. What inspired KILLJAM XXX in general? How in the world did you come up with such creative and well-driven characters and plotline? They wrote that. I didn't write that. And why would it be you, the two most handsome and beautiful people in the world, who would get to be the showrunners?
Wow,
it's so funny to read stuff like that out loud.
Thank you, Henry. I mean, person who wrote that question. Real talk, I'm going to defer to Henry on talking about what inspired KILLJAM in general for the most part, but I'm going to sort of weigh in specifically on what inspired the stuff that thematically is going on with Faustina and then some of the other characters in the show from my side of the writing. So I, this is going to sound like kind of a maybe wild pull for the kind of what the show ends up being, but I went to school for musical theater. I got my bachelor's of fine arts in musical theater and was very entrenched in that world. And a large portion of that was being kind of having it sort of hammered into us, these ideas of like personal branding and like making yourself marketable and sellable and sort of how to make yourself a product. And that's not to say there's something that's anything inherently bad about that. You have to brand yourself if you want to like work in pretty much any industry. But there were ways in which that manifested and specifically affected me at the time, especially as I was getting into becoming sort of a public figure in a lot of my online work at the same time, where it just started to really kind of propel me into some existential dread and like weird emotional spaces of feeling like I was a person that didn't belong to myself and sort of had to conceive of myself as belonging to a theater program, to a project, to a brand. And that sort of sense of objectification on a micro and then on a macro scale is like a woman in America, sort of, you know, that's the sort of thing kind of tumbles around in your head and then can sort of make you a little bit crazy. And a lot of that sense of, you know, commodification and the ways we treat women who are public figures, and I got this on such a small scale, but that really drove a lot of the themes of Faustina and a lot of the sort of feelings around sort of corporate exploitation and being turned into a product and not an individual. And then in terms of other characters, a lot of them are just sort of built based on people and experiences that I've had. Like a lot of characters in KILLJAM that I have helped write are sort of amalgamations of people that I have known and do know. Like a lot of my dear friends do different kinds of sex work. So like a lot of characters like Nomi and Vic end up with like portions of people that I know and stories people have told me or things I've experienced and seen. That kind of all rolls into them, plus, you know, original stuff and aspects of the world. But that's kind of, you know, it's a mix of stuff that's happened to me and stuff I see in other people that I care about and that I think are interesting people, and that's kind of that.
Yeah, I think that's a really fantastic answer, and I co-sign all of that. And I think, to be honest, because I know we have a lot of questions where the stuff I would say to answer this would also kind of be covered. I think the complicated thing is with something that has as long a kind of like production time from like initial conception to release as KILLJAM, it's very easy to kind of look back and like imagine a straighter path than there was, if that makes sense. You know, to write the narrative, to write the, funnily enough, like Addison was talking about, the kind of brandable, sellable version of the KILLJAM story. You know, I think, to be honest, if I could give you my most, like, honest answer to, like, the seed that started the kind of writing of this is, it was sort of post Things with Less is Morgue ending. It was in a period of my life where, due to, like, getting, like, visa and, like, immigration stuff sorted out, I was every, like, 90 days shuttling between Australia and America, dealing with personal stuff, and just feeling in this kind of state of, like, frustration and flux. It was a time when I just so needed an escape, and I wanted to write something that would allow me to vent my frustrations, but also, I guess, allow me to kind of, like, feed the kid in me, you know, the kind of 12-year-old who loved, like, edgy Wii games and Villain of the Week cartoons and, like, all of this other, and honestly playing with action figures and stuff like that. And I think KILLJAM satisfied those kind of self-indulgent urges to write something that is just fun, and that desire for fun has never left and never not been an animating force in this project. But I think it's also kind of beautiful that over time, more of our kind of emotions and our like most deeply held themes and ideas have kind of been layered on with every draft, and it's that kind of complex mishmash that becomes KILLJAM as everyone knows it.
Could we get physical descriptions of some of the jammers that only got a mention so fan artists can draw them? And also, how does the cast feel about original characters, and are there specific suggestions for how to make them fit best into the world that you've created? That's a really lovely question. I'm probably going to defer mostly to Henry on some of this, but in terms of physical descriptions for jammers, we have some concept art for like major characters that we use to help with the acting and writing side of things, and there are aspects of certain characters' identities and descriptions that are kind of, you know, absolutely like you can't, like, cannot be changed, that are fixed points. Like, for example, Lex is Asian, Mara is a black woman, Bellamy has red hair, Faustina is blue, Roger has gold teeth. But for the most part, the descriptions are relatively, we want people to have the freedom to interpret characters how they want to. And then in terms of original characters, there are some KILLJAM OCs kicking around already, including a full-blown original, like, short comic about one of those OCs, and I fucking love it. Please do it. I love when people make KILLJAM OCs. I want to see all your jammers. I want to see your manager OCs. I want to see your, like, random background characters if you want to make those up. I just want to see it. And however people want to play in the sandbox we've made, I want to see it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, if anyone watches the videos of us ranting for sometimes hours at a time over on the We Are Not Alive YouTube channel, you know we love creativity, and for OCs, the sky is the limit. Like, if you want to make someone and be like, this is my OC, they're Faustina's best friend, and they've known each other for years, you know, like, or if you want to do someone who is like, yeah, no, they are a, like, bit player in San Malvado, actually have nothing to do with KILLJAM, aren't really even that into it, and has no interest in, like, Faustina and Bellamy and what's going on. Like, whatever you want to do it, and post it and tag us in it, because we absolutely love it. As for character descriptions, I'm with Addison on a lot of that. We did, like, a lot of art for Less is Morgue, and there's loads of awesome art for Kingmaker as well, because obviously Meg is the showrunner of Kingmaker and Meg is an artist. But I think with Less is Morgue, with me and Addison not being, like, sort of visual artists ourselves, we didn't want to put too much pressure on folks like Jasper and Meg, who do a lot of the art for this show, and, like, potentially cause burnout in what is already a very kind of, like, ambitious project. Like Addison said, there are characters we have kind of ideas for, and they are, like, breadcrumbed throughout. I know that we have some fans who have a Fantasia, who it's definitely more useful to sort of get descriptions for, but at the end of the day, We don't know which characters in particular you're thinking of, and would be here for a long time if I just went through the cast and kind of free associated what we imagine. So maybe if that's something that you would really like.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, our asks are open on Tumblr, so if you ever have a character you want to know what they look like so you can draw them, we will happily tell you what they look like.
Yes, go to the link tree, and I think the Tumblr is also linked in the description of every episode, so wherever you're listening to this, go there, ask us, even if it's like, what does John the Gun of the Wet Hand Gang look like? We'll have something for you. Can I share, before we move on to the next question, the reason why the main guy of the Wet Hand Gang is called what he is?
Please tell the people.
So, Addison has forced both me and Gus to watch the fucking Kissing Booth movies on Netflix. And the male lead in that is called Noah, played by Jacob Elordi. And he has, like, what I can only describe as, like, a kind of sex gazebo that he, like, brings all of the girls he knows out to like, woo them. So, we took that and made it into the name Noah Gazebo as the head of the Wet Hand Gang, because a lot of the time, we are truly writing to amuse just ourselves when we make this show. What does the process of writing KILLJAM look like? How detailed of an outline is there before an episode gets written? Do you go in just generally knowing what beats you have to hit for a certain episode? Or is there a more specific plan? Like, okay, there's a scene, then there's a scene, then there's a scene. I always love hearing about the process of going from an idea to an outline to a final product, and the ways that differs for different people and projects.
I love this. This is a great question. So I'd say it differs a little bit from episode to episode, and also differs between me and Henry in terms of our writing styles. But if I could use a recent example without getting into any spoilers, I've been writing an episode for season 2 where, prior to starting the draft process, the outline that we did, Henry and I worked together on an outline for it, and we're pretty detailed about the kind of shape of the episode in terms of, inciting incident, what the complications would be. And then the other thing that I think is very useful for outlining KILLJAM specifically is breaking down, like, the settings and, like, the set pieces, especially if there are places where action is going to unfold. Like, looking at a season 1 episode, something like Fairground Fight Night, you want to be looking at the set pieces, like the boardwalk, like the big central locations. That could be a really important part of the outline process, because once you know that, it can sort of help you fill in the rest of, like, what's going to be happening in those spaces, how the fight would unfold, what kind of interesting stuff you could do with it.
Yeah, I think you're completely on the money there, Addison, and it does differ between our approaches sometimes. It differs between episodes. Some things we really extensively plan. Other times, a scene or, like, a moment will just hit us like a lightning bolt. And also, it wasn't really mentioned in the question, but it's worth bringing up, so many of your favorite KILLJAM moments are born in the edit.
Yep.
And sometimes not even in the first round of editing. Like, the Funky Fox Fujiko scene in episode 2 was not in that episode until, like, late in the game.
It's true. It's very true. And then there are some episodes that just kind of, like, pour on out because they're just a thing you like that you just knew you wanted to do. Like, there's an episode, no spoilers, there's an episode of season 2 that I wrote, like, pretty much in one go.
Yeah, and it works. Yes, and it works because it's an episode that very much is kind of in real time. We're just sort of following characters, like, meandering through a certain context. But I think Addison is completely right in saying that the set pieces in particular, we always plan, like, basically every major KILLJAM fight, we look at, like, a little episode and we plan it in a 3-act structure way, so it hopefully never just becomes, like, a flurry of, like, fight sound effects until, like, one of them dies.
They just punch each other until somebody's dead.
Exactly, that would be, like, a version of KILLJAM where just every fight is just rock'em sock'em robots. And that wouldn't be very fun.
So, cast members, favorite characters you played / productions you've been a part of. Also, do you use gestures to help in voice acting? So, first of all, favorite characters I played in productions I've been a part of. I have to talk about Ariadne Culver.
Yes.
One of my favorite roles I've ever played, ever do play, will continue to play, is Ariadne on the Kingmaker Histories. I wanted to be a villain, like a real proper, like a fucking Disney villain for a long time. And Meg gave me the most beautiful gift in having me on the show as Ariadne, as this fucking dramatic, milfy, mean witch, flesh witch. She kills people and she loves her son, and he is a terrible little man. And she is like just a proper, like a megalomaniacal, like just a nasty woman. I love her so much. It is so fun to be bad. I love Ariadne. I also loved, I mentioned her already, but I loved playing Graham Anderson on The Subjective Truth. I loved playing like an intrepid reporter kind of character. I love Graham. She's great. She's just great. I loved being in Two Flat Earthers, also from Good Point.
Karen.
Playing Karen in Two Flat Earthers was so fucking fun. Those are some of my favorites. I've enjoyed every role I've ever played in a project, but those are the ones that like really mean a lot to me. I also have to quickly shout out too, like way back in the day, I was I played Julie in the podcast Small Town Horror, which was one of my first voice acting roles.
That was John Grills, right?
Yeah, with John Grills.
He's always been a cool guy.
He's cool. And it was one of my first voice acting roles outside of the No Sleep podcast, and I loved playing Julie. Those are some of my favorites. And do I use gestures to help with voice acting? Absolutely, especially with certain characters, and especially more recently I do. Faustina is an extremely physical character. I've also talked about this in other settings, but to play Ariadne, I almost always have to have like a glass of red wine in my hand. Not even just because the wine does it, but like just knowing that I have it in my hand makes me holding it makes me hold my body differently, makes me hold my hand differently, talk with my hand differently. The physical side of it is like cannot be discounted.
Okay, I'm not paid to say this. I am not paid to say this. I do really genuinely love KILLJAM with all my heart, and really seriously, it is one of my favorite projects because I have made so many wonderful friends through it. I just really love it. I love being Bellamy. I love to get to scream. I just voice cracked. I was just gonna say I love voicing trans characters. And I know I said this earlier. I know I said earlier, well, parents just say they all have special qualities when they truly have a favorite. In this occasion, and most occasions, I do not mean that. I don't know. Every project that I've been able to be a part of, like, I am so incredibly grateful for that somebody would be like, oh, do you want to voice act in my project? Or would let me voice act for them if I get cast for something. I'm just incredibly grateful. I've met so many wonderful people through voice acting. People that I'm still friends with years later, even if I'm not voice acting for them anymore. Again, from it's all different from the long form projects that you have that are multi-seasonal, like KILLJAM, or like little one-off things for student thesis films, because I love voicing for student thesis films. Every medium is different, from like video games to animation to audio drama to even like dubbing comics. I'm just very grateful. It is incredibly fun. I would say if I had to pick a favorite of something that had to do with voice acting, I love voicing villains and assholes. I love voicing villains and assholes, because they're just more fun. I love them!
I'm a witch. Now I've turned into a witch because I love being villains.
And yes, I am always gesturing. I am a hand talker. I'm from New Jersey, so everyone here talks with their hands. I'm always throwing my hands up into the air and grabbing my head.
I know there's a lot of people out there who would like for me to say that my favorite character I've ever played is Evelyn from Lessons Morgue. I'm going to tell you the truth. Our recording schedule for that show was completely unsustainable, and I did get very tired of doing that voice. Being Ned Shark-Tackle in Eloy's Choice is also fun, but I think I think Drill Bitch is my favorite character I've ever voiced in anything. It's a short list of characters, but Drill Bitch is at the top because it's so fun to be mean. It's so fun to just be a shithead. And also, do you use gestures for help when voice acting? No. Me, when I'm voice acting, a lot of the time, I am sitting completely still. Like, you know the scene in Get Out where Rose is on the phone and she's, like, screaming and crying, but her face is, like, completely expressionless and she's eating Fruit Loops? That's me voice acting.
I actually also realized I have an answer to this one. I forget that I do occasionally act. But I think probably the most prominent thing, I am playing a villain in an upcoming show that I can't say much about, but is created by our dear friend and voice of Randy Macaque, Gus Zagarella. And I also currently play a villain in beloved absolute freak media audio drama Woebegone. I play Bradford Beaumont in that, who is a sort of sleazy kind of tech guy whose dialogue is roughly 85% TED Talk style monologues, which are really challenging but are a lot of fun. And while I don't gesticulate with my hands a lot when I play him, for some of his longer monologues I have literally had to stand and pace while holding the mic doing it, because it is not the kind of thing that you could, like, do while sitting down. You have to imagine walking around the audience in, like, a turtleneck, looking at people as you say business buzzwords mixed with dimension-shifting lunacy. It's a great time. For the cast, when it comes to voice acting, is it as simple as purchasing the necessary equipment for someone with acting experience? And how could you suggest getting your voice, see what I did, out there?
Love this question. Specifically love this question because you mentioned acting experience. And one of the things I always tell people if they ask me about voice acting is that it is not as simple as buying a microphone. You need to also care about developing your craft as an actor. And that doesn't mean you need to be shelling out like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on classes. That doesn't mean you need to be like, you know, using, like, trying to spend money you don't have or time you don't have. But you do need to, the acting part is just as important as the voice part. And so I would recommend for folks starting out with voice acting to get kind of a reasonably priced microphone and focus more on treating your space than on buying the most expensive microphone, because a $1,000 microphone in an untreated space will still sound like shit. So on a very practical level, treat your space. Also, refine your craft. There are really reasonably priced, like, Zoom workshops. There, if you can't afford any classes, there are also just, you know, books on acting technique you can get from your library. You can also, like, reach out. There are Discord servers, people in community spaces who are kind of just noodling and, like, giving each other advice for free for love of the game. Like, finding a community is really helpful. You can get good advice. And for getting your voice out there, I recommend a lot of the stuff I was doing before I was voice acting professionally was I was just recording stuff for myself and then putting it out there on, like, YouTube, SoundCloud, whatever. And then also working on indie projects like we were talking about before, being in spaces where people are making indie work and being willing to offer your voice work on a sort of, like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine basis, and, like, working with people on their projects so they work on yours and so on and so forth. You can get your stuff out there if you're nice to work with and you're friendly and you're enthusiastic and you care about what you're doing. You will be able to, you know, get onto indie projects, and obviously you have to be, you know, be okay with indie project rates and stuff, but it's one of the best ways to get your stuff out there is just to care about what you're doing and, like, look for other people making indie art.
I love answering voice acting help questions. I'm like a little gnome who loves helping people. Gnomes do not I don't think gnomes I don't think they're famous for helping people. I think they're quite mischievous, actually. Anyway, I started voice acting I did not intend to actually start voice acting. I did it because it was for a project that me and my friends were doing, and we needed voice actors, and we were in high school, and we didn't have the money to pay people to voice act. And I used to be in like community theater when I was a kid, and I was like, I'll do it, and it was fun. So I was like, oh my god, I really like doing this. I wanna do it for more things. And obviously, I only have 2 hands and a secret third one that comes out when no one's looking, and so I can only make as many projects as one. So I was like, oh, I'll start doing it for other people. That's what I will do. So there's a website that I started on that I haven't used it for a while. So I'm not sure if it is as, reliable as it used to be, because I started doing this in like 2019, but it's called Casting Call Club. It's castingcall.club. I'm not sponsored. This is just where I started. It makes it really easy to kind of cycle through projects. Also, to like find more casting calls to get into. Any social media, really. Twitter used to be a really big voice acting hub. I have not used Twitter for a while because of reasons that I think will not be unfamiliar to many people. I don't want this to be a super long-winded answer, because I feel like I could go on and on about voice acting advice. I think looking for casting calls, especially, and I mentioned this earlier, student thesis films are one of the best ways to get into voice acting, because they are short-form projects. They're really small, because the thesis films for animation schools, whether it be like SVA or CalArts or any Sheridan Animation, one of my first voice acting things I ever did was through a thesis film. Student thesis films are great because for getting into voice acting, because again, they're short-form projects, so they're not a huge time commitment. You get to build your resume with original projects, which is what I've seen and have found is that being in original projects, you want original projects on your resume for like copyright reasons and stuff like that. So you get to be cast in original projects. You can be cast in a lot of them because again, they're short form, so they're not a long time commitment. And also you get to voice a bunch of different types of characters, so you get to kind of experience like voicing, like doing different voices and kind of showing like your range with that. You get to work with a bunch of different people, so not only do you get to make some really fun connections with people, but you get to kind of experience different kind of like production things, I guess, for lack of a better term, experiences. And because they are student thesis films, they're typically and this is not to discredit anybody in school, but like they're not as like I think they're more approachable, because it feels like they're students and you're also getting into it, so you don't feel as like scared because everybody's kind of going through like the learning process of things. I don't know. I just think they're really great in my personal experience. I'm so sorry this is going on forever. Also, just keep auditioning. Audition and audition and audition and audition. And I think auditioning is just as fun as getting cast. You're still getting to try out different voices, and you lose nothing by auditioning. You lose absolutely nothing by auditioning for things and just continuing to try and try and try and try. Because regardless of if you get cast or not, 1, it's a cool opportunity. 2, people might keep your audition on file and call you back in the future, which has actually happened for me. If you don't land a character, they might keep you on file and then call you back for another character. So that's awesome. And 3rd, you're also learning. You're getting to practice your craft through auditioning. So you lose nothing. Even if you don't get cast in something, that's not the end-all be-all. Not getting cast in something doesn't make you not a voice actor. It just means you haven't been cast in something yet. As for equipment, honestly, if you're getting into voice acting and you don't know if it's for you yet, don't put a ton of money into it. Don't invest into it yet. See if it's something that you enjoy first, and then you can start to invest into it if you're able to do that. I know everybody has different bars of what they can afford. I do not come from money. And when I first started voice acting, I used a USB mic that was cheap. And you can use, all you really need is a good microphone that doesn't sound like you're recording inside of Satan's butt. or that you sound like you're underwater, as long as you have a crisp, clear voice and it doesn't sound like you're munching on a cookie. That's number 1. Number 2 is some form of pop filter. You can either buy an actual pop filter. It's that little circle thing that goes over the mic with the fabric on it. It stops your B's and P's, your plosives, from sounding really loud and popping into the mic. You can also use a sock. You can put a sock over your USB mic. The third thing is no echo or reverb. You don't want a lot of echo or reverb. That's a super important thing with voice acting, to get good quality audio. Try to put carpets down. If you can't use carpets, do it in a clothing closet. Wherever, if you're Mr. Richie Rich and you just bought your big new $1 billion mansion, don't record in the biggest room in your mansion, because the marble walls and flooring will make you sound like you're echoing like an angel of God. They will not hire you if that happens. Honestly, you don't even need fancy sound blankets. You just need a small area that's like well blanketed so your voice doesn't echo across the room. I recorded another Qubz treasure by duct taping a bunch of blankets to the corner of my room. I duct taped them to the wall, and I got paid for that. That's the end of the sentence. If you ever want voice acting advice, you can actually contact me directly. I will help you. I love helping people with voice acting.
I love learning about unused concepts, characters, and plots in shows. What's the coolest idea the team had that never made it into the show? I'm actually just going to toss this off to Henry, because I think you're the person who was... I don't think I have one that I could answer this with.
Yeah, a lot of stuff hit the cutting room floor for KILLJAM, but I'll tell you what's really funny before I give one kind of fun character who didn't make it in. What's really funny about KILLJAM, and this is a piece of advice that you can take for your own projects at home, is there is no such thing as wasted creativity. Because let me tell you, the number of things that we have come up with for earlier iterations of KILLJAM, thrown out, but have weirdly ended up, working its way back in a different form, has been crazy. It has happened so often at this point that most of the time you're almost never saying, no, get rid of this, and almost always, put this, on ice, I'll have it later. But one character who we did have a lot of fun with, who had to go because she really only fit a different version of the show, is we had a character called Tallulah Turnkey, who had kind of weird nebulous psychic powers, and her thing was that she was a kind of prison warden of a huge prison where she did evil experiments on the different prisoners and had different evil plans, and ultimately she didn't work because we decided to go with making Cosima a libertarian hellscape rather than a totalitarian one, so there's no reason for prisons to really exist. But it's a case of, I think, shades of her and her as a character have reappeared in others. So even if you have something that you won't reuse holistically, if there was a kernel of something good in it, you'll find a way to work that in at some point.
Meg, what's your process for sound design? Did you learn anything in the course of this show? I think I've really leveled up my ability to match music to a show, because obviously when I was doing the first few seasons of Kingmaker, the first 2 seasons of Kingmaker, I was using free music from YouTube. But by the time that KILLJAM has come around, I've got an Epidemic Sound subscription, so I have this whole licensed library that I have access to. So that allows me to do kind of these crazy pop music montages, to have songs that are so specifically timed to a scene. I will scroll through Epidemic Sound their electronic music tab, and I would just kind of click things and listen to them, and I build scenes based on the music, because I came up as an animator doing Naruto animatics set to the Killer's songs. My brain works in that way, where when I hear a good piece of music, I'm oh, I'm imagining a montage, I'm imagining the coolest montage ever. And so I'm finally getting an outlet where I can do that. As for my regular process of sound design, a lot of what I do in KILLJAM is not that different from what I do in Kingmaker, but The main difference is that when I get the script and the audio, my job is to make it sound like the future. So Henry and Addison write the script, and sometimes it'll be like, this scene happens while Bellamy and Vic are stapling up posters on lampposts. And I'm like, well, okay, they're not gonna fucking do that in the future. They're gonna have, like, you know, holograms or something. So the sound cue that I add in is Vic and Bellamy are, like, hacking hologram posters at bus stops. And that makes it more sonically interesting. And I think it really sells the tone. And I think the most fun thing about making KILLJAM for me is that because I'm not writing it as well, I have all of the brain power to just focus entirely on the sound and make it sound just absolutely perfect. Because that's the only responsibility I have for the show. It ends up being so fun, I just get to kind of play. Like, I really do approach sound design as play. Especially for KILLJAM, because KILLJAM is so, like, toyetic. And, like, I'm not beholden to, like, oh, what was invented in this time period. No, I can do whatever I want. And I can add pop music under it.
Which jammers have you enjoyed the most over Season 1? Whether from a writing, casting, or final product standpoint. And I'm guessing for this one, we're going to discount Faustina because it would be unfair to the others.
I think they mean, yeah, I'm going to interpret this as kind of temporary jammers.
Okay. So I was saying this earlier. It is so hard for me to pick favorites. This is the equivalent of when people ask me, what's your favorite color? And I'm like, I like purple, I like yellow, I like rainbow, because I just can't pick. Okay, well, obviously I love Bellamy with all my heart and soul. But I'm not gonna say him, because that's the easy answer. And also I love to say that I'm gonna beat him to death with hammers. So he's my favorite character to beat to death with hammers. But my favorite character that I love would be Molly Murder Clown! I am a sucker for clowns. I love clowns. Even though she doesn't want to look like a clown, and she just has a really bad spray tan. I just think I know who you are. I know what you are. I know what you are. But Misha also does a fantastic performance. And I love listening to that scene when Molly kills 2 of 3 children. And they're gonna use this audio to indict me in court. But who doesn't love a child-killing clown? Again, they're gonna use this audio to indict me in court. There will be more of Molly. There will be more of Molly soon. I'm so excited. But again, it is really hard to pick. Everyone does a fantastic job voicing their character. I love them all. I think they all have their own special qualities. This is how parents talk about their children when they actually have a favorite, and my favorite is Molly, so.
I gotta say, it's Mother Hysteria is kind of hard to beat for me. I love all of the jammers, but she's, like, so special to me. I just think she's such an incredible, like, hit the ground running first impression of, like, outlaw jammers. I think she's one of my absolute favorites. I think it was incredible to get to cast one of my bosses, Chelsea Rebecca, in the role. She fucking killed it. I said, like, female Frollo as, like, a voice note for it, and she immediately knew what that meant.
No, she absolutely nailed it.
Other favorites include, of course, how could I ever leave out Levita the She-Wolf and Autumn Ivy's incredible performance. Speaking of setting the tone for KILLJAM, I mean, fucking, you know where you are the second you hear her. I love everybody. This is what it's hard. I love all of them, but those are 2 of my big standouts. But fucking Lottie Lancer, oh my god. Heavy Nettle's so fun. She's just a quick little moment, but she's so fun. I mean, Lex is gonna be in future episodes, but because she's still alive, so, you know, rare for a jammer. But I love Lex deeply, and I'm so excited for folks to see more of her. God, Mall Ninja, my little baby. I just love them all.
It is really hard to pick, because at the end of the day, we wouldn't write them if we didn't love them. I think because they're always like a weird, underappreciated part. I have to give my love to the tank-style robos, Drill Bitch and Jackie Hammer and Hardware, because Meg, Kat Walker-Shea, and Erica Addison both did, like, all three of them did incredible jobs, and for some reason, I don't know why, maybe it's having to really give personality to a character who's in, like, a big sort of metal suit, but all of those performances are so fun for all three of those characters. I think I'm gonna cheat a little bit because technically she is a jammer. God, I love Anaconda. She's so fun, and I think this is something that me and Addison have talked about a lot. She is a character that, well, God damn you, Meg pointed at me and said scaly. The thing about I am what I am. The thing about Anna is, though, she is a character that I think before we cast the inimitable Mo Rock to play her, she was one that I was really worried about because, like, she's weird. I think asking people to genuinely love and feel pathos and sympathy for a character who eats human beings whole and gets turned on by it, that's asking a lot of an audience, you know? But I think it's one of those things where Mo gives such an amazing performance that manages to both sell the kind of, like, fun, like, sultry milfiness that people love, but also she is so good at the kind of, like, the fear and the vulnerability in scenes like Mara and Dirge in the flashback, in scenes like Anna and Dirge in the flashback, Anna and Trin in the drawing room, and like Addison alluded to earlier, that really fantastic scene where Faustina finally manages to kind of talk Anna around by actually appealing to their shared experience. I think it's something that's like, Anna is a jammer who we get to spend more time with, despite her being a side character, and I think through all of those scenes, through kind of fun comedic stuff like the Q&A and Anna versus Lizzie, where they're trying to, like, train the tiger, you get to see every side of that character, and Mo rocks it.
Mo rocks it, you fucker.
I'm going to say, from a production standpoint, that I love sound designing Mara walking. Because I've got Walker 2, and I have these, like, stock servo sound effects. So whenever Mara is walking in a scene, I have to, like, start a new file, which is the Mara walking file. And I have to, first I use my keyboard in Walker 2 to do my metal robot footsteps, chunk, 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 and then I take my servo sound effects and I have a pitched up one for the right leg and a pitched down one for the left leg. And so I have to time it exactly to the footsteps. So it's like, and it's a pain in the ass to do this, but it sounds so good. It sounds so good in the end product. And I love sound designing anytime Mara moves, because I get to do like the arm whoosh of like the clothes that she's wearing, but also like a for the robot arms. It's very fun.
Who's the team's favorite character?
Henry, who is my favorite character?
Well, you tell me.
Well, I don't know.
I'm being told I can't say Molly again. You know what? I'm gonna say Ragdoll. I love Ragdoll. I think Ragdoll should have a flourishing jamming career, I think. Because I love Ragdolls, and I love Raggedy Ann and Andy, and and I think Ragdoll should be so famous right now, and then, and to keep her from, like, killing more people, you can put her in a glass case, just like the Annabelle doll, but she's not jamming. I'm sorry, Shankill, I not to imply we should lock your daughter away, but we should lock your daughter away. I used to say I hated Electo, and I know she killed Hot Pink. I know she killed Bellamy's sister, but she is kind of, you know, I'm tucking my hair behind my ear. Electo is voiced by Laura Mirsky, and Ragdoll is voiced by Ashley Kraft. So you guys should also hire them. You should hire every voice actor, and you should hire every creative involved with making this project.
1, evil question. 2, thank you for asking. 3, it would be fucked up if I didn't say Faustina.
That's true.
Although I will say Faustina is my obvious choice, and I love all of the characters, but if I am forced twisting my arm and forcing me to pick only one other character, then I will say it is the character who I think, aside from Faustina, that everyone knows so far, that I had the most creative control over the creation of, and that is Vic Cadmium. I love that little guy.
He's so fun.
He's so fun, and he grew out of just sort of like a vague kind of like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I wrote this guy impulse? Like, oh, I would love to make, this guy. And as we were digging deeper into him and figuring out kind of the way he views the world and the way he moves through it and what he thinks about the people in his life, like, and there's so much stuff about him I'm so excited to get into as the show develops, like his family and his career and like his, just the way he views the world. And there's one thing I'll say about him that's not really a spoiler because you see it already kind of in the way he interacts with Bellamy and the flashback between the two of them, but he's like in a world that is grown very like cynical and hard and like kind of cruel in a lot of ways. He is like one of the last living romantics, and I just really love that about him, that even though obviously he does crimes and stuff, but he is a guy who in a world that is very hard is very insistent on remaining soft in a lot of ways. And I just have a lot of affection for him.
I love Lex. I think Lex might be my favorite. I am Lex Tina #1 shooter, and I just think Lex the Talon is great. A beautiful and realistic representation of like girl jealousy having a complex as an adult, and I love her so much for it. I love Lex. I also love Roger. I think Roger is the funniest piece of shit in the world. Every line delivery from Josh is absolutely solid gold. All of the like insults and terrible lines that Henry writes for him are so funny. I want to torture that man in a shipping container for 6 years.
The thing is, at the end of the day, I like Bellamy and Faustina, obviously my favorites, because at the end of the day, that's why they're the main characters.
That's what the show's about.
If your favorite characters in the show you're making aren't the main characters, you fucked up. I'm sorry. You have put the magnifying glass in the wrong place. You know, your favorites should always be the protagonists, or you have made a mistake there. But the thing is, I think for me, the wider point I would spin this to is, like, I truly do love every character in it because you are making a fool of yourself to write a character you don't love. I know what you might be thinking, like, well, what about Dirge? What about Roger? Of course I love Dirge and Roger. They're fun as hell.
They're bad people, but doesn't mean I don't love them.
I think, like, the thing... I know that, Addison, you could probably expand on this. This is a piece of advice that I know is often given to actors, but I, as a writer, have the same mentality. You can't judge your characters, you know?
No, you can't.
Sorry, go.
And that doesn't mean not believing that they've done anything wrong, but it means, like, you need to understand, if you're an actor playing them, or I think a writer writing them, I agree, understand why they are doing what they are doing, why they see the world the way they see it, and how that makes them behave the way they behave. And again, that doesn't mean you're endorsing it. That doesn't mean I think Roger's like a great guy. I think he's a fucking monster. But we know why he is. We know what he thinks of the world around him and why he thinks it's okay to be that way. Because you're just not going to get an honest performance, in my opinion. You're not going to get an honestly written character if you don't understand them. And if you want to understand them, you've got to take the judgment hat off for a second and go, why are you like that?
Exactly. Except for characters that are kind of so small and like kind of one-off, they get to have more kind of purely jokey appearances, like Master Dante, like the Wet Hand Gang, where they kind of get to be a little bit more cartoonish. There is not a character, but even then, I love those characters. I don't condone them, but I love them, because I think at the end of the day, if I didn't love a character, which is to say, love to write them, love to like cast them, direct them, have them be there in the final product, they wouldn't survive the first draft.
No.
Characters that we don't like, you'll never know about, because they won't make it to the feed. They will be gunned down by the We Are Not Alive snipers posted on the battlements of the We Are Not Alive castle that we all live in. You guys do synchronous or asynchronous recording?
Almost entirely asynchronous recording, which may surprise some folks. The only synchronous recording we do, really, like there's a lot of live direction. Like a lot of the villains have been live directed. We already mentioned that we live directed. I live directed Val for his initial recordings of Jack. But the only synchronous recording that I've done as Faustina, at least, is with is most of the, actually I think almost every scene between Faustina and Bellamy was recorded synchronously.
Yeah, and that's partly because you and Zuwie just have such a rapport and such good chemistry that, like, when you two are, like, acting together, magic happens. So many, like, great ad-libs, whole, like, moments and lines that... Like, I think a perfect example, just to give a little bit of, like, substance to this answer is... I can't believe I didn't list this as one of my favorite scenes, because in hindsight it absolutely is 8 Ball's bar in episode 10, where Bellamy is getting, like, insanely, like, shit-faced drunk after, like, biffing the interview with Anna, and Faustina is desperately trying to, like, keep him on an even keel. There is a bit at the end where Bellamy starts drunkenly ranting at 8 Ball, completely unscripted, and Faustina starts trying to, like, talk him down and comfort him, also completely unscripted, just stuff that we were able to do because you and Zuwie have such good, like, instincts, and I think it really shows that, like, both of you have, like, a theater background before like getting into voice acting, because yeah, that kind of, like, that chemistry is there, and personally it just feels wrong to record a scene that has both of them in it and not have you both there. And I think, like, it's partly why people, and I'm people, love these characters so much, is the I think, you know, the warmth and the friendship there is real, you know, and I think it comes through in just you guys really enjoy hanging out and recording with each other.
It's true, and I think that it's nice to get to end this conversation on that, because I think that, you know, we've talked about so many times that their dynamic and the connection that these two form is the heart of the show. So,
what's up with the goddamn Vine booms? Everyone is so strategically placed, so I forgot where they were in the show, and I've had to stop myself from cackling in public because the show advertisement I was listening to had a massive silent gap for a Vine boom to slot right into. The reason I put Vine boobs in the show is because I think Vine boobs are really funny. I think they're so funny. And I just think it fits Roger so well, because he is that, like, terrible, like, TikTok, like, drama news reporter, like, Instagram reels kind of man. So I need to put Vine booms in every Fame Monsters clip. Unrelated, but slightly related, there is one of my favorite moments is in episode 13, when Gabby is watching the Fame Monsters reel about, Leon Scorn's death, and it ends with, like, a stock sound effect that I found on Pixabay that was just somebody going, "Fail!" That killed me. Oh, I loved making that so much. I loved making that specific Fame Monsters reel, because I just made it so obnoxious.
It really is. But thank you so much for sticking it through however long this Q&A has been. Meg's been a trooper putting it together, and I think I definitely deserve immense, incredible praise for what an absolute nightmare it's going to be transcripting it.
sorry.
But we're the podcasters who go the extra mile, and we really thank you. It's rare that we get to kind of say this on mic, because we like to keep things in character in the episodes for immersion's sake. But we are so tremendously grateful to all of the support you've given a show as deeply idiosyncratic and strange and extreme as this one, and we can promise you that everything you love and love already and so much more is coming in season 2.
I just can't wait for you guys to hear it. Thank you for everything. This has been it's been so special to get to share this world and these characters with you, and I'm just excited we get to keep doing it.
Hell yeah. All right, thanks everybody. Goodbye.
Bye, cuties.
Thank you so much for sending in questions. And I'm very excited to come back for season 2.
Questionnaire over.